Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.
It's the one, it's the two, it's a three, it's a hey, hey, hey. Float, Lindah, float, Lindah, float. Okay, this a wellness podcast. This the wellness plug podcast. This the wellness plug podcast.
The name is Dr. G.
Hey,
That's who I be.
everywhere I go, I ride with G-O-D. You know, because we ride it with God.
Don't leave me. Listen, I'm good to go if you're good to go.
Yeah.
I think we've done a really nice warm up and we can get the show.
I thought we done been going already.
The thing is,
I
like,
was already in my bag.
today's topic is, it's very sensitive to me. You know, Umjolo, guys, it's such a pandemic. It is such, like, as a queer man,
You are a pandemic.
you know, here the gays, they will play with your feelings.
But our rascal, right?
They will literally stuff their hands in your throat through the esophagus, grab your heart, rip it apart. Literally, like the experiences, I don't know how many talking stages I've been through this year, potential, you know, boyfriends. But then all of a Sunday, umuntu switches up.
As
you
in
know?
ghosting?
Yeah, like they'll ghost you or
Okay.
they'll start acting, you know, weird.
All right.
They will entice you. Like, I feel like in relationships, when I go into, like, you know, the talking stage with somebody, they'll entice me at the beginning. Everything is flowing. Conversations are good. You know, we like each other.
The seduction.
And then cheeky, you know, someone is being cold. Someone is ghosting me. I feel like maybe...
And you can't figure out exactly
You
why, or
can't.
you can't identify that timestamp in your timeline where it got switched up. It almost just
can't.
seems to happen
I can't.
overnight.
Just the things just happen so quickly, you know, with the relationships, the modern relationships, because we are all meeting up on the gram, Instagram, DM each other. We start chatting it up. We're probably like in a relationship because I already have a heart next to your number. And we already start, you know, posting each other. And then the next week, it's silence.
As you were saying that, I was wondering, is that why a lot of modern day relationships are so difficult to keep up? Like, if you were to compare it to like a kitchen, right? Where back in the day, fast food wasn't readily available. You'd have to sit there with your stew that had to be cooking for hours and hours. And when you tasted it, was so good.
Yeah.
Now it's like, quick one, air fryer. No, you know, shout out to the air fryer. It's healthy, it's amazing. But like, air fryer quick, and then 10 minutes, you got a meal. But then like, it's not that good for you.
Well, I think, brothers, the reason we are gathered here today is because
Dearly
I
beloved.
feel like wellness is needed in dating.
Umjolo,
So a warm welcome to Umjolo, the Wellness Edition. And by the way, isn't it great that we have hit our YouTube channel intro mark? Can we say hello to the YouTubers out there?
Hello.
The pluggers, this is you.
So
This
those
is
of
us.
you who are not familiar with this crew that has already gotten into the topic, we are the Wellness Plug. I'm not riding alone. My name is Dr. G, as you'll find out pretty soon enough. And we're getting into such a juicy topic. But I do want...
It's introducing.
I know it's introducing. Did you hear that? You heard that?
That's
See why YouTube, siya baraza maj. Right. So I am rolling with two amazing individuals, and we're going to take you through this topic called Umjolo, the Wellness Edition. Katlego, how are you?
Oh, that's the wellness check that we do every
Of
time
course.
we meet up.
We
I
ain't
am-
starting with such a juicy topic without checking in, because I don't know how you're going to be at the end of this.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'm starting at 70% charge. I'm at 70% charge right now. I've returned
Right.
from a 2-week long trip that I think
nice.
was exciting, was taxing from an energy point of view,
Okay.
mentally, physically, but I really enjoyed it and was reunited with my son a couple of days ago, which in itself was a reunion of all kinds of emotional sorts.
Yeah.
So I'm still in a mode of trying to recover. You know, like when you come back from a long holiday, and then
Yeah.
you need a holiday
Yeah.
from your holiday.
Yeah, we hear you.
So 70%, but generally I'm very good and really excited to explore this topic, which for me comes at a time where it's ideal in that there's a lot that I think I need to learn
Okay.
about dating and relationships. And then also I'm like, I don't think I'm ready. I want to be. I think I want to be, but even saying I want to be doesn't feel right. Like I shouldn't be in one because I feel the need to be in one. I'm still trying to figure all of that out. I think I've been out of the dating game for such a long time that I'm doing this, like feeling my way around type of thing.
Don't you worry, my brother. Big sister is
Hold
here.
my hand.
If anything, we will get out of this Titanic together, alive. Hey, alive. That is the goal.
Where's the boat?
Because I can tell you, Umjolo can feel like a giant Titanic. And for a lot of people, it's such a daunt. What you've described is what a lot of people in general go through. There's just different seasons that we all are in when it comes to this topic. And I am really excited to where it takes us. And Lindah,
how are you?
Before we get into some interesting, hey, you're already sharing the stories, but how are you before we get into your particular Umjolo stories? Unjani, babes, unjani.
Ngicala nje ngokuthi ya sanibona.
Sanibona. YouTube.
No gosh. Wow, this is amazing. I'm so glad that we are growing and going into, the YouTube space so that you can see my pretty face.
Get it. Serve them.
But anyways, I'm actually really good. The train is starting to move a bit. So even me being here with you guys is like something that's going to ground me, and just be like, I say rate.
Because I've genuinely missed this. Have you missed this? Missed this well?
I sincerely miss being in the safe space.
Yeah.
And also, because, production starts very soon and there's roles that I've been, auditioning for that are potentially, going to work in my favor.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that are happening now. And I've had like the past 2 months, my calendar was just, quiet.
Yeah.
And now that, things are starting to pick up a bit and, the season is coming, the prime season or December bookings. So I'm just really in a point where I'm just like ready for that again.
Yeah.
Ready for that busyness, ready to, get back to being booked and busy, but also aligned and rested.
Oh,
here we go.
Busy, aligned and rested. Love it.
So, but in terms of Umjolo, guys, yeah.
Before we get to Umjolo, because you guys are just guys, they're just rushing to get into this topic. I would like to take a moment to celebrate the fact that we are reunited. We are starting a brand new chapter of this journey. And both of you have been incredibly busy with new seasons, which is part of the reason. Our schedules are crazy. But what we do promise you, if you like and follow our channel,
and subscribe.
We will definitely subscribe. Thank you so much.
On YouTube.
Subscribe, man.
Subscribe.
I'm a level.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna practice in subscription. Subscribe to the subscription. The wellness plug is where you need to go for all the action we will be delivering for this year because we are so busy, but we'll do our best. 1 a month, we will be here inspiring healthy conversations in this safe space. But I really want to cheers your respective growth. You're back doing your thing.
Yes.
Can we just take a moment to the fact that
Let's go. To God be the glory.
Oh my gosh, what has that been like?
Wow.
To have
I was actually
all of that come back.
I was actually saying to Lindah earlier on when we were driving here that it's been amazing in a lot of ways. From a mechanical point of view, the execution of the actual task of being a broadcaster, that I feel has always been in me. So the machines it's like getting into the factory and then the machine starts going.
And we have really seen it.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
The train.
Oh,
What's on
the train.
You know what I'm saying? You know. And then there's been the other mind-blowing part, which has been the public's reception of me returning to the home and what I love doing so much and how everyone has been so incredibly positive and happy to see me happy.
Yes.
And that's an amazing place to be in when
Absolutely.
people are encouraging of you to be happy. And then when you are, they find joy in that. And then you find joy in the fact that they are joyful. And then it becomes this beautiful self-propelling machine that continues to feed itself out of the purity of joy. So that's been incredible.
Well, we celebrate your courage. You know,
Thank you.
we've obviously been taking a few bragging rights. We're like, no, we brought him back to you guys, but it's fine. What we really loved is just there is joy. There is joy in every single moment that we have seen. And that is what I want to continue to celebrate and encourage. Please embrace this. Wow. It is so deserved. We are unapologetically Team Cat. Thank you very much. Just in case those of you were confused. And on that wonderful note, I do also want to inform you that your favorite character, that character on that interesting telenovela, he's coming back. I'm obsessed with him. Lindah, congratulations. The wife is coming back.
Thank you.
It can't be a wellness plug without me plugging everybody into what you're missing out on.
It's so funny because, articles were going out and prior to, when production ended, nobody was really aware what was happening, So a lot of the blog articles and stuff were just writing stuff. Lindah has quit the wife or Bali has quit the wife. And so they were just saying all these things. And in my mind, I was like, maybe did I? Because we're just like, did I lose the job? Because it's an industry that I don't know how it operates. Right. And a lot of the things that people are reporting on, Boma Twitter, then they are later confirmed. Actually, it is true, I remember when they talked about a show being cancelled, but the people that were acting on the show were just like, nah, that's not true. And then the following week, the show got cancelled. So for me, it's such a scary thing to navigate because you actually don't know sometimes what's happening within, and you might even hear it on these blogs, but sometimes they are lying, and that's proven. I'm back by popular demand.
Let's go.
And Lindah is definitely. I'm just excited for
when are we likely to see you back on screen?
Most probably late November, or early December.
Well, I'm obsessed with the twinning that you and Bali do, so I'm here for it. I'm excited. Of course, how I'm doing.
Yes, exactly.
I turned 40 recently.
I was about to say,
how do you think I'm doing?
You're on level 4, CC.
Happy birthday in person. I know I wished you via text and
it
whatnot.
was very well received.
Wow. And not just the countdown, I loved it as well. Yeah. The different parts of growth that you have been personally going through to get to the 4th decade of life.
Well, I think there's 2 aspects why that was significant. One, I do whatever I do on my account. And then people took over my account for 3 days. But I really think they did an amazing job. But I have a very long, interesting history. And some of it is to do with today's topic, Umjolo. And I feel that as women get older, it's interesting how our voice sometimes gets dismissed or minimized in terms of this discussion. Because they used to be the stereotypical construct of, we don't have much to give once you hit a certain age. And I still meet younger people who are scared to get older. Like I meet 25-year-old young women who are like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself when I turn 40. And I'm like, girl,
25,
it starts to get really fun from 40. So I think for me, just taking stock of what has transpired in these 4 decades was just a start for me to get people excited about my next 40. But I think all of us should be really comfortable with age because one, you are going to stay in this body as it changes for the rest of your life. So if you're not comfortable now in your 20s, then I really want to start working with you because by the time you get 50, 60, it could be really rough. But I do think also that the knowing yourself, that kind of certainty and clarity happens as you get older. So I'm enjoying dating more now.
Really?
My last 10, 15 years.
Have been a mess.
Right.
Have they been messy?
No.
Have they been good?
They've been the better part of mine. I can't wait to give you guys some tidbits. But before we get into that, we've got a very interesting way we're going to get into Umjolo, guys, because I felt that I don't trust the 3 of us to construct this part. So I asked a very special person to get us into gear so that we know how vulnerable we're going to be. Guys, we want to do like a naked version symbolically of Umjolo. So I brought my trusted voice to ask us some interesting questions. So we're going to do the scroll. Remember the scroll? We're going to do it a bit differently. We're going to pick a number from 1 to 20, go around the room.
Okay.
And we're going to ask, our master, our mastermind.
Are we calling her the mastermind?
We're calling her the mastermind.
Okay, that's her.
Let's call it the voice from within.
Oh, for the wellness plug, I like that even better.
Voice from
Okay.
within. I like that.
Do that later.
No, I mean, we've just named her right now.
Okay, so
as it is.
So the voice from within is going to come from the wellness cave and ask us some questions. And
Very
I think
mysterious place.
it makes sense since, I'm the most confident in the group
Right, of course, yes.
of this topic for me to go bravely into the dark night
Okay.
and ask the voice from within. I would like to choose number 7.
What is your definition of intimacy?
Ooh, I went for it, didn't I?
Wow. Lucky number 7.
T for tent.
My definition of intimacy, and I think this is, I'm going to go experiential more than dictionary definition.
Mm.
My definition of intimacy is being able to connect from a place of vulnerability and honesty, physically, mentally, and emotionally. If you can achieve that with another human being, you've practically won the lotto. That's my answer. I'm out.
And I'm sticking to it.
Mhm.
I love that.
Same. I actually really love that. I always just thought intimacy was
the
Betty
obvious.
Kali in the bed.
What? Betty Kali.
Betty Kali.
That's why big sister is here. Wellness.
man.
Bring the wellness. Bring the well. Who's next? Who's next? Let's
Okay,
go.
can I,
We got
can
2
I-
rounds of this, so
I
next
need
one.
I need to choose number 11. I hope it's something like not that deep and profound.
All right.
11.
Do you believe in monogamy?
Yo.
Let's just do the whole show on scroll questions.
All right. There it is.
Linda, there it is.
You've
Okay.
taken your sip.
Talk about
Okay,
away.
so my experiences in dating, I understand that we have different expectations from relationships. In terms of we all, get into a relationship wanting different things out of it. And it's about that couple, those 2 people coming together and deciding exactly what works for them. I know very much it's a very difficult subject within the queer community,
Yeah.
monogamy, because of the way that, a lot of our relationships work. So there's a lot of us that actually don't practice monogamy.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that all queer people.
got you.
This is just from my experiences,
Yeah.
where we'll have a couple that is married, but they'll still just to
Explore.
explore outside. So they'll have an open relationship and it works for them. So people do what works for them at that particular time. So there are types of people that will say, we practice monogamy because religion says that you should, marry one person, stick by them. But also my culture says you can have, different wives, maybe 4 or 5 and be polygamous. And then my culture in being queer says that I can't really follow any of these things because they don't recognize me in their light. So why should I,
So what's going for you now?
why should I let heterosexual norms dictate
define you.
how I experience my queerness?
Wow.
So it's just a very tough, tricky thing.
Where
but
are you
yeah.
right now? Maybe that's
Me,
the
personally.
context, yes, with monogamy.
Oh,
Where are
man,
you right
I'm
now?
taking. Me, I'm just get the hosa. Like I'm just
Get it.
peace job, nyana
Talk
there.
your job.
Talk. Yeah, but like
So
in general,
would you accept being in a relationship with someone who has a relationship with someone else?
the thing is when you say accept, it's almost like
Well,
when you say accept, it's almost like now it's not a conversational type of thing between me and that person. Like you are coming here, this is what I want, or this is what we want. We are forever growing human beings. What we can agree on today can be a different conversation tomorrow. The person that I met last year, today we could be completely different people. So it's always a conversation that is happening. There's nothing for me that says it's written down, signed, and we're done. The conversation
It's
can
an honest
happen.
answer. It's
Yeah,
an
the
honest answer.
conversation can still happen even after we've
so
been.
as long as it's consensual.
Yeah, consensual. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Like Pelok Cheetah is out of.
I think
it's out of-
alignment is what you were speaking about. As long as you are aligned, right?
As
Yeah,
partners.
and we're able maybe after 5 years of being together, maybe start having a conversation of maybe let's explore an open relationship. If it happens,
People
it
do
happens.
that.
People do it, and I'm not judgmental of that.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm loving these answers. Okay, it's getting really spicy.
You picked the spiciest of the 2 so
Right?
far. And now I'm like, wow, Well, here I go into the fiery pit.
You need a spicier. What?
We are going to Wusa as Katlego
It's
waits
all
for his
right.
question.
It's all right. And
Pick the number, my friend.
I'm picking the number that I went for originally, even though it's very close to yours, number 10. The voice from within. Let's go.
What scares you about relationships?
Oh.
The voice from within is very
No, she
intentional
is cooking.
with
She's
these
cooking
questions.
us. She's cooking us.
Fry us.
Wow. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Okay.
Because I have in the past, and I think to a certain degree still hold high expectations of myself, right? In terms of who I would like to be as a partner to someone.
Okay.
And the fear of not being able to meet that expectation scares me, number one. I don't know if it's because it's unrealistic, it's too high, I don't know, but it certainly does. And then also the other side of that double-edged sword is I think I have developed massive trust issues. I find it difficult to have a conversation with someone at the moment and then to purely accept what they say at face value as what it is. Like, that's what you say, so I believe that's what you say for what it is.
Absolutely.
There's always the voice that goes like, but what if that little word or that sentence construction was meant in this way that could potentially harm you here and there? And I think a lot of people probably go through that.
Absolutely.
Whoever has gone through their own personal traumas in their own lives. I'm only speaking from my own personal perspective. But I think it's the combination of those two that I want to be an ideal partner for my partner.
Yeah.
But then how do I even allow myself to explore what a partner would want if I cannot accept everything that they say at face value? And I'm filtering what they are saying through my past traumas or experiences.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of what you're saying is exactly the essence of why we're putting the wellness angle into this topic is anything to do with a loving relationship and sharing a life with someone else requires the most vulnerable, the most soulful parts of us to come out.
Yeah.
And some of our soulful parts need tending. And that's going to be the wellness aspect of the conversation. And that's why I really love how you're facing. At the same time, while you're acknowledging what you're scared of, you're facing it.
Yeah.
I gotta give you that credit.
Because I have to, right? Because I know myself as a person. I know that I want to be in a long-term relationship, and I would like to be married one day, and I would like to have a family one day.
Right.
It's just that the way that the choices I've made in life and the way that life has played itself out from my personal experience hasn't been the ideal thing, right? Which is part of the one side of that sword that like, okay, how do I look at it and go, take the lessons and move forward, knowing and trusting yourself first of all, and then knowing and trusting another person, because that needs to come together in a beautiful balance in order, at least in my mind. We'll get into the aspects of relationships and dating as we go along, but that for me needs to come together in a beautiful balance in order for a relationship to be sustainable and then hence long lasting. So I think those are two aspects that I can quote and think about right now, but that if you delve deeper into them could be explode into entire universes on their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like for me, when you mentioned the part of you always want to, be your best, the best higher, version of yourself to that person. And I mean, we've had even conversations prior about how even in high school, you did all the sports and you were always that kid. So you always want to present the best parts of yourself to somebody. And sometimes you don't really have to do that. Just being you in your most natural and most organic state is enough for that person. And it's fulfilling enough. Right. You never want to feel as if you are trying to impress or trying to, make yourself seem.
And look, don't get me wrong, right? It's not necessarily about showing up on the day in such a way that you impress the socks off of this person.
It's not performative.
It's not performative. It's
Okay.
about being enough.
Right.
And then like we had a conversation earlier on, right?
Yeah.
About that feeling of crazy or drunk in love that you chase,
Yeah.
that excitement, where the more sustainable and long-term feeling is
It's a
that
choice.
waking up in the morning and
every day
and feeling like I don't need to
put on a
impress or put on a performance. I am enough as I am,
Mm.
with my ups and downs,
Exactly.
with
Yes.
my baggage,
Exactly.
with my I don't feel good today. Like I don't.
Yeah,
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
good with that. I love you even in that.
in that.
You know what I mean? And not but you are this person to the rest of the world. You bring joy to everyone in the world. Why can't you be that 24/7 here
With me.
with me? What, am I not enough for you to do that? Like, no, it's not about that. I don't feel the need to come home and to have to perform.
Mm.
But
And
I
it's
think
different.
both of you are touching on one of the first areas that this particular wellness segment is going to go into, which is loving any other person is a journey in and of itself. And that's one of the reasons that, as much as the episode is called Umjolo, the wellness edition, one of the things that I hope we're going to take the pluggers through as we continue to discuss this very interesting hot topic is the aspect of how are we looking within before we going seeking those things in another human being? Because one of the first ways I want to open this conversation is with this statement. One of the most important journeys that one needs to appreciate is the fact that in order to know what you have to offer someone else, it's important that you start with building a life with yourself. And from a wellness point of view, that's really one of the foundations of love. But I think there's some exciting things that we've started on. If you have a friend or two, you need to be very comfortable playing questions like this. Because one of the reasons I enjoy the scroll is there's an immediate conversation around the topic. So big up to the voice from within. And for those of you who are watching, we're going to do the second round at the end as a bonus to this particular episode. So don't touch that dial because they are not off the hook. The voice from within will be coming back at the end of Umjolo, the wellness edition, just to give us one more round after we've reflected on this wellness topic.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things we're going to go into.
Okay.
The first is I'm going to discuss and I love that you already raised it, the science of falling in love. You know, where we think we've got control over the situation. I'm going to free some minds. That doesn't mean I'm giving you excuses to blame science when you're doing irresponsible things, but there is a scientific process and explanation to the falling. Then we're going to go into the factors that affect sustainability of relationships, where we will discuss some reckless habits that lead to unhealthy attachments. And we're going to end, hopefully, on what are healthy ways that you can pursue your dating and love life journey as you figure this whole Umjolo thing out. So please make sure.
So should I delete Tinder now?
We're going to talk about that because
I've never even.
But I'm, for example, a big advocate of that, and I have some stories to share.
You advocate for it. What about Grindr?
We're going to talk about all of them. All right. So get on board and let's definitely take you on a journey of wellnessology where we will be discussing the science of falling in love. Oh my gosh, this topic is going to take us somewhere.
It already is.
But if you are a plugger right now who's in their fields, because we're talking about something that is affecting you right now, first and foremost, let's just have a moment with our pluggers to say you are not alone. Umjolo Kifatuk for a reason, and Dr. G is here to make it better. So,
Umjolo what?
Kifatuk.
Kifatuk. Like, what's that?
Kifatuk, baby. Go ahead and Google that.
If you don't get it,
Forget about it.
If you've ever written intense quotes after breaking up, you will know what the good doctors say.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I want to take you on a wellness ride. You know, as someone who appreciates that our life journeys affect our physical, mental, and emotional health. Part of what I want to now ease is the journey of dating. I'm not sure I'm going to take away all the necessary angst and anxiety that inevitably comes with taking a risk. loving another person is a leap of faith.
That's part of it, right?
That's just part of it.
Mhm.
That doesn't get any easier. But I think there are some things that can help all of us navigate this season as positively, as resiliently, as bravely, with fewer scars than we might be inviting. So not all of us are aware what habits.
Then we might be inviting.
You know what I
So
mean?
we are inviting
Some
the
are
scars.
definitely.
Wow.
This is
Take-
going to be a
let me just sip.
reflective session. So let's start with that early stage. That early stage when you see someone that you like.
I keep on falling.
Yeah.
There we go. That stage that makes you want to sing and stay up all night and you can't sleep. Fortunately for a lot of you, it's not your fault. Dr. G is here to say it's not your fault. You can
Who do we
blame
blame?
it. You can blame it on the science.
Okay.
So scientifically, there is a relationship between the experience of falling in love because there's things that happen to you chemically, right? The interesting thing about evolution is that as human beings, we emit, transmit, and produce certain substances
Okay.
when we have spotted a potential mate. So I'm about to get a little bit Darwinian on you,
Yeah.
okay? If you need your notebook, this is a good
So
time.
it's
a
part
good
of
time.
who you are. It's
'Cause I'm-
natural.
I'm going to give some interesting things you can use on DMs. Listen here. So,
sliding into DMs
Sliding.
like I had a neurological reaction that sparked
So-
my interest.
so one of the common things people talk about is being hit by Cupid's arrow.
Mhm.
This restless, almost roller coaster experience that starts to hit when you are feeling someone. Perhaps by the third or fourth time you're spotting someone you like, you may not experience it the same rush, but think about the first time
It's crazy.
you fell in love.
It's absolutely crazy.
Didn't you feel out of control?
It is.
Okay.
It's an out of control feeling.
Right?
I mean, even if I like take it back to the very first time that I experienced liking someone,
Right.
it was madness. I couldn't even speak a proper word to this person when they asked me, so like, do you like me? And I was like, huh? It's crazy. And that I'm glad to know it was not entirely up to my own dumbfoundedness, but there was something of a chemical reaction happening inside me that permitted that kind of action.
Not all the reactions,
Oh, yeah.
but part of what I can tell you. So what happens is there's this almost rush. Let's call it a neurotransmitter rush. So there are very interesting hormones that happen when you spot someone you love. The first one is noradrenaline. Now, noradrenaline is an interesting hormone because it stimulates the production of a hormone called adrenaline. Adrenaline gives you the palpitations, so
Mhm.
the increased
fight
heart
or
rate,
flight.
the fight or flight, the anxiety, the palm sweating, the going clammy, not knowing what to do. But it also is the reason you don't sleep much in that early stage because you're
Oh.
constantly thinking. So adrenaline is one of those hormones that also triggers what we call the rumination, the constant thinking of your loved one.
Mm.
But the one that most of you really love out there is my good old friend dopamine.
Dopamine, the feel good.
The feel-good hormone where all you can think of is running in the sunflower field with your loved one. Okay, that just really exposed my age.
Is it really-
Whatever
I
you're
mean,
thinking.
You're just passing on someone's lens.
Is it really love though? Is that the experience of
Well,
love?
this is one of the interesting reasons why I said the context of the scientific aspect is the falling in love.
falling in love.
The falling. This,
or maybe sometimes can just be like you.
we will get there
craving.
because lust is very
Lust.
interchangeable with love at that point.
Medically speaking.
Well,
Basically.
one of the reasons that there is this wonderful debate about love being the choice, because the journeying of getting to know someone and being with them and building a love, that's the choice. The science is only accounting for the falling. Let's just make that clear.
Right. Okay.
Because
The initial
some
phase.
people love to stay in the falling stage and they actually start to believe that when this rush is gone, so has the love.
The love gone.
This is a very temporary stage. And I think it's really important I say it up front. I'm so glad you asked the question early. This is a very temporary stage and it's a primary stage of attachment. And it's a hormonal driven stage for a particular period. And you've got to transition once you know that person into the real deal.
Is that,
But
why,
in that
is that why
stage-
people say that,
Yeah.
love is not a feeling?
100%.
Love is not a feeling.
Love is a journey.
It's a choice.
It's a choice that becomes a journey.
Wow.
Because you're journeying with another human being when you choose to partner with them and stay bonded
Yeah.
for a long, long time.
So then this thing of falling out of love, does it not exist? Does it completely not exist? Or...
Well, this is also one of the reasons why not focusing the attention from a relationship point of view on the falling in or falling out is critical. Because part of what our generation likes to do is to be intoxicated in something. And I mean that very respectfully. So think of most of your coping mechanisms. When life is hectic, you want to go to a pleasurable place. Human being is designed to want pleasure, not pain. The reason that I like to steer away from encouraging things like falling in and falling out of is one, a lot of those processes are not within your control. But just maybe to describe what most people probably mean by falling out of love is they've lost the spark,
the excitement
that happens when they are around that person.
Yeah.
Most people are
to the
incredibly afraid.
detriment of the relationship. Like, so now it's no longer worth pursuing because
100%.
Where's that excitement? Did you leave me? Did I leave you? Meanwhile, the relationship is still continuing. It just needs to be worked on because it's not a feeling.
And most people don't know what their attachment styles are while they are falling in love with someone. So another wonderful conversation we can have on another day is attachment styles, avoidant, anxious, all of that. And depending on your attachment style, you may be a person who's prone to be addicted to the falling stage and you want to cling on to that because that might be for you an expression of feeling secure in the relationship. Yeah. But all couples move out of the falling stage into this interesting choice and journey stage. And I think it's critical for us to discuss what you have control over and what you don't. Because the minute you have this wonderful euphoric feeling, which is what these hormones, phenylethylamine, noradrenaline, and dopamine, great rush can last for months. The honeymoon phase, you've heard of the honeymoon phase? This is the honeymoon phase.
You are on that drip and every day is just...
You want to jump your partner every second.
Yeah, bedically. It's
the bedical phase. Let's call it the bedical phase. I think
you've just coined the term.
You've coined the term.
Legit.
Once you're done with bedical, there's another human being on the other side with trauma, with a story, with ideas, with values, with cultural beliefs, with a family, with friends. There's this entire human being who's coming with an entire story that you now have to figure out if it works with yours.
I love terming it the story instead of terming it baggage because baggage makes it seem negative. Like,
correct.
Why would I want to carry your baggage? No, I want to read your story.
Oh,
and
that's a good one.
And be a part of that story.
Yeah.
Right?
So
we're at dopamine.
We're at dopamine. The last guy that I really love is phenylethylamine. So you can say to someone, you phenylethylamined me.
Hey. Phenylethylamine.
So that particular one is the reason you have butterflies in your stomach. So the butterflies in your stomach, you can totally...
When you see or think about this person.
Every single time. Like I said, this rush is activated, can be stimulated every time your partner is in your presence or if you just think about them. That's why it's such a relentless, almost attack on your body because some people pick up really, really unhealthy habits during this stage, right? Because the constant thinking about your partner can lead to a period of anxiety because if your partner is not reciprocating the texts and the phone calls and now we've got social media. So there's also this wonderful thing of social media stalking our crushes. And when there isn't reciprocity, you can have a different kind of reaction, even hormonally, because that can activate your stress cascade. Yeah. And you don't want the in-love cascade and the stress cascade going together, guys. Ooh. So it's so mindful. The reason I want to pause the scientific role of falling in love in this stage is because I want to remind all those of you who are feeling hopeless in love and who are relishing and immersing yourself in the process. The most important thing I want to say is, Dr. G, is you need to be looking after yourself during this period. Because as much as you can blame science for losing control, you have control over a few basic things. The first thing you have control over is how you read your object of affection's signals. Because in this phase, you need to appreciate you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to every single thing they're doing, saying, not doing, not saying.
Whether you want to or not, it's happening.
And a
It's
lot of the
interacting.
healthy and unhealthy behaviors tend to crop up at the sensitive stage because what we may term crazy, right,
Okay.
is such an interesting gray area because what I prefer to do is say there's a healthy way to express the season and there's an unhealthy way to express the season. So number one example of an unhealthy way to express yourself during the season is trying by all means to find out where your object of affection lives if they haven't given you the address.
Wow.
And literally stalking them.
that happens.
It can
I thought-
happen while you're under this rush. Gonna put it out there straight up.
What,
Not a good
stalking
idea.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah, please
Yeah,
don't
no.
do that.
No,
Just
I
not
do
a
that.
good
I do
idea.
that, Shin. I do it. I do it actively.
No, but like to the extent of I want to know where you are, where you hang
all
out.
times.
Not
Yeah.
like I want to know where you live.
No, like I'll Google a man and try and find something just to know who I'm
That's
dealing with. And it's also a toxic trait.
Okay.
But like, I don't want to, the thing is for me, it's like, I don't want to waste my time. The earlier.
What are you Googling for is my
Okay.
question.
To find out exactly who I'm dealing with at hand. So most cases, it's probably
What
me
does
trying
Google
to find.
reveal? Give me examples of how Google helps you make a decision.
No, so it's not in a literal sense, like
Okay.
I go on Google,
Okay.
but just in terms of like finding out in the streets, who is this person? Do you know about him? Or who
Okay.
is his crew? Who's his ex? Who was he dating before? What happened prior to that? You know, like I'll try by all means to find as much information.
I
I know
get
it's
that.
a toxic trait. I
I
know.
get that because,
Yeah.
but then I also stand on the side of saying you could be opening yourself up to an influx of influence from people that have ill intent. And then
Or worse,
How does that-
a limited idea and understanding of your person. Is there? I've got I have a question to appreciate the habit. Is the reason being you're not at that point secure and sure enough that your partner's gonna be able to answer the curiosity that you have about them? Or are you still at an explorative phase that you don't want to engage your partner in those questions to find out more about them?
For me, I think it's the trust element. Whatever I ask the
Okay,
partner
fair
at that
point.
time, they'll
Okay.
most probably tell me what I want to hear.
Put
Because
their
of my
best foot
past
forward.
experiences, they will just tell me exactly what I want to hear. And sometimes, as you were saying before, sometimes you meet someone, they tell you something at face value, and you should just take it as it is. But because considering the experiences that I've had in the past,
yeah.
I tend to want to find out on my own, Oguti, what's happening, and what type of person you are. I can't just believe what you say. I know it's
No,
I get that though.
Definitely. This is, it's not about judging a behavior, it's about understanding it. One of the biggest things I always say that the journey of wellness is understanding yourself. And what I like about, you answering the question is your place where you're coming from is the trust. And every
also-
single one of us has an issue with trust. It's
and I
trusting
think-
someone new, right?
Yeah,
into
but
our
I think it's
space.
also important to say at this juncture that
Mhm.
why you and I possibly jumped up. It's not that you're doing it in an invasive manner
Yes.
or in a manner in which it threatens somebody's
The well-being of your prospect.
well-being, or because that's a completely totally different
Yeah.
field. If your investigations stretch to that level, it's for your own comfort, and you do it in the sense of, let's say, asking a friend or somebody who might have met this person the relevant questions that you feel you need to know before entering into that conversation with that person, if I'm understanding
Yeah.
correctly.
Yes.
And I'm
Correct.
curious to know how many of you pluggers investigate the object of your affection and your crush, because I think that is such a modern day dating trend. And I think it is one that is interesting to explore. And
Yeah.
what are the limits? Dr. G wants to know, what are the limits to your investigations?
I think a lot of people do it subconsciously. You might be sitting with a
okay.
person who is within that 6 degrees of separation of
Yep.
that person, and then
Yep.
you end up in a conversation and you're listening. You're not necessarily asking the questions, but now you're listening with more intent because you are trying to find out a bit more about this person. So, oh wow, so you were there with them. Oh, okay, yeah.
Who was he with?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Really?
And then you see the comments as well. I read comments. I'll see the
Oh,
likes.
no.
Who's constantly liking this
Oh,
person?
like I said, there are limits. And one thing I do want to leave on a wellnessology note is this. If you're finding yourself during this very vulnerable stage, doing more work, trying to figure out who the person you're interested in, rather than asking them, maybe you need to step back and reevaluate how you would have want to be treated in that situation. If you were currently, because I'm assuming you're probably an object of affection on their side, what kind of a chance would you like to be given to be able to address those questions? And that's the healthy boundary. So we go from this interesting falling in love stage to the real dance. Now, the real dance is influenced by a lot of factors. And I think when you observe in general, you've all watched friends, family members, associates, every single human being. You've watched couples on the street look in love, be in love, couples married for a long time. There's this interesting, beautiful dance that then happens, whether or not you've chosen something long-term or you've chosen something short-term. And what influences all of us? What influences all of us in choosing a partner that we want to take this dance in? I'm curious to get into this one. I'm going to obviously explain the factors that science has researched over many, many years. There's so many dating journals, so many psychological evaluations of this. I mean, from how someone smells to age differences. We're going to go into the dungeon now of the pools you were talking about. We're going to talk about even when it comes to online dating, what are you looking for? So this segment is, now you've fallen, and that's not always sometimes in your control. But let's talk the scenario where you've now chosen an interest, right? And you're now exploring if this interest is someone you're going to take a longer road with. Some of the interesting things that are very common in all relationships, which whatever the gender and sex. So let's start with something that is, I think, in our zone of communication. One of the biggest that is considered when it comes to choosing someone long-term is age.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to rattle all of them and we'll see which ones are of interest. So I don't know if you guys have heard about the half your age plus 7 rule.
I've never. What is
Every
that?
high school boy has heard of that.
No,
it's that thing where you take whoever it is that you have an interest in, you take their age, half it, add 7.
The fact that he knows this is scary.
No. But now here's the part that I miss. After you add 7, if the difference,
so it's half your age plus 7.
Yes.
So
whatever
you can take my age.
Whatever age you arrive at,
right,
needs to be a certain. The difference between your age and that age can't be past a certain
there we go
thing.
So,
like it can't
so
be
here's
more
the
than
premise.
5
So
or
what
whatever.
is the acceptable? So it's interesting how many studies we do unnecessarily as humans, but this one is interesting, and I thought the pluggers will find this hilarious because some of our pluggers are already married, so you may need to be like, hey, hubby. Right. So here's what some of the psychological studies talk about is this half your age plus 7, which is what is the acceptable age range to be dating someone. So take good old big sister here. So 40.
Yeah.
Right. Half of 40 is
20.
So plus 7.
27.
So the most acceptable lower end.
Yeah, it's the lower limit
of dating for me
27.
would be 27.
A 27-year-old.
A 27-year-old.
Right? According to this, don't panic.
Your face is like judgmental to the core right now.
But here's what's interesting. Either you're an age subscriber or you're not. Personally, I'll throw my hat in here. I'm not an age subscriber.
Yeah.
I'm definitely an emotional intelligence subscriber. However, because I want to be speaking to the girls who I know are online relating, one of the most interesting things is we have definite stereotypical construct that says this half your age plus 7 is more applicable to men than women.
Oh,
So a
no.
man can choose a 27-year-old. It's very different if CD is choosing.
Aren't we like in
27-year-old.
2022 and
this
changing
is the
narrative?
reason. But this is the reason why I think topics like this are so interesting, because we're still in an age where we have a largely patriarchal view about how women date, but we have a very interesting flexibility and freedom of how men date. How do you feel about the age? Is age very important to you?
So for me, that equation, yes, I can see where it kind of makes sense, but it's more than just the equation and the chronological age for me. I look at somebody and I go, where are you in your life? And can we match life stages in terms of our maturity? Are we going in the same direction. But there's the obvious thing like, oh, I struggle, hey. Under 25 I struggle.
Post-apartheid.
Like, were you alive when we had our first democratic election?
Yeah,
Even that is a stretch for me. Like, how? Oh my gosh. Ooh.
I hope we're not breaking too many hearts with
Ay,
this
ay, ay. No.
distinction.
Hey, guys, no.
Where are you with the age thing, Lindah?
With me, age ain't nothing but a number.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like younger guys, then
Yeah.
no, that's not really my preference. I like a more, mature, older age group. I like just older guys in general, because I feel like they also mature. They make me laugh, they have a nice personality. Personality. We are aligned.
This is probably the most diplomatic way for Lindah to let you know. Please
We need to be
have
making.
a life. He's not building Bob again.
No. I ain't about that life. No.
But there are other factors, guys, that are very interesting to discuss in relationship. The religion factor, the income factor, the gender factor, right? Because we're in an interesting generation where I'm going to hope we're no longer so obsessed by trying to categorize someone and then deciding if we're dating them based on where they are. And I think this gender sexuality conversation is such an interesting one because is it possible, and this is the interesting thing I'm going to throw out there as a doctor taking such a risk, right? Is it possible for someone to have an undiscovered preference, right?
An undiscovered.
An
define
undiscovered. So we're socialized, right, within a heteronormative background. And I think Lindah's made some very interesting points there. And when it comes to attraction versus people you would be willing to settle down with, not everyone, the argument I'm making here is not everyone is 100% cognizant of what their actual sexual preference is until a certain life stage. And in a community or in a world where we're not as, I guess, how do I say, as liberated to explore who we are from a young age, is it possible for someone to discover, for example, that they may be bisexual, but they weren't aware? And how does that play out when it comes to them exploring a dating life? The reason I'm saying this is because there are these underground, right, very important things to discuss where someone heteronormative, from a heteronormative background, then is seen, for example, because I don't believe every case is the exact same cookie cutter case of, oh, this guy should have known that he prefers men. Why did he go and marry a woman and then have relationships with men on the side? Is it sometimes that it's because of this unexplored, undiscovered preference? Because he is conditioned to, I've got to marry and do this and do that. He may never have had the same exposure. And the same thing from a female perspective. It's easy to say, it's, guys come in with this stuff, but could have a woman going into a heteronormative marriage and realizing, oh my gosh, she has an attraction to females, but now you've made this interesting commitment. What do you do with that undiscovered aspect? And that's a critical reason why I say as a doctor always, it's so critical to first build a life with yourself.
Yes.
Because so many of us are also socialized and conditioned to run into relationships. And sometimes because relationships are designed to be mirrors, to reflect who we really are, you may be unnecessarily, right, creating chaos when you could have had time to explore the stuff while you were still single. Getting to know yourself, including your preferences, including what you prefer, including who you're attracted to, and getting honest with who you're attracted to can protect not just other people that you date, but yourself from a lot of heartache.
Yeah. Quick question. In the the climate we live in.
Yes.
We in South Africa, I think, are one of those countries where interracial relationships are.
Oh, the race card. Here we go.
Are they easy? Do you think they're easier in South Africa than they are elsewhere? Because I feel like, let's say in France, you'd find interracial relationships a lot more prevalent because both individuals identify as being French, and that kind of paints the two of them with one stroke of a brush. Whereas here, you're not just black, you're not just white, you're not just colored. There are other subcultures that define who you are that to an extent where it could impose certain limits on your ability to see a relationship with somebody from a different race over and above the fact that they are of a different race.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer that from personal experience. As someone who isn't shy to admit to interracial dating and interracial relationships. So I have an accidental superpower that I'm willing to talk about as part of my answer to this question.
Okay.
I tend to be the catalyst for partners to start exploring the other side.
Yeah.
And I call it a superpower, and I'll tell you why.
She's the catalyst.
So if a partner hasn't dated outside the race, for some wonderful accident they meet CD. After CD, it becomes an open conversation with themselves.
Okay,
I don't necessarily mean they go chocolate.
I see the superpower. Once you go black, you can never go back.
The only reason I think I'm going to do a high five on that is because of your conversation. In our country, there is a stereotypical construct that it's easier for you to stick to your people. Is going to be the friendliest way I'm going to say that. Because of the tricky, complicated nature, sometimes we do bring of our stories. Thank you, Kat, for that term instead of the other word.
And just before I forget, because this goes back to, I think it was a joke that Trevor Noah made, right?
Yeah.
Of another brother. When you get looked at, there's the one that went to the other race or went to dip in the other pond.
That's why I said the
another
other side.
brother. That's pressure.
I want to put perspective because of even how it was brokered in my family circle. I have one of the most, I'd love to believe, progressive family units ever, but we're grounded in a very strong pride in being black. And I don't think that should be an issue. All of us should be proud of our heritage. But the joke is, at 18, my brother threw the most random joke at me, but he didn't realize he's planting a seed. He looked at me and he said, "As when Ngati, your partner is gonna be umluku."
Oh yeah?
Right? It was a joke.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, 5 years later, first interracial relationship happens. And I'm now in complete conflict because, wow, how dare I? Your pride, black love, all of that stuff. Lots of conflict, early 20s. So best person to go talk to people who gave birth to me. So the first conversation, I sit down with the father and I go, "How do you feel?" Because you were in the struggle.
Yeah.
And I respect your opinion. How would you feel if I brought an individual outside of our family color? And I will always love this answer because it was one of the most liberating answers I could get from a traditional Nguni man who's taught us mostly from a conventional Zulu Swati culture. He said to me, "What I need you to always look at is this individual capable and willing to meet me, right? To meet me halfway as a human being in the things that matter most to me. Is he willing to accept who I am and not try and change me?" And he said, "If your partner meets those criteria, Mtanami, whoever makes you happy, I will accept."
Wow.
Yeah.
So part of why I wanted to answer you on the interracial side is I think that part of the issue is, for me personally, I think the acceptance starts with our own families. If you're in a dynamic with any partner outside of your culture and race, and you've got resistance and tension with people you respect the most, it doesn't matter how glorious that relationship is, it's coming up against a lot of odds early on.
Yeah.
And the thing for me, I think, where I can share that made it not even a non-issue, that made race a non-issue, is because I didn't realize subconsciously that my families were cool with it, right? Kind of gave me the freedom to intentionally explore and not have to apologize and answer to anybody else.
Yeah.
So in my context, and that's why I'm not answering it from a generic point of view, I'm just answering in my context, I think that interracial relationships in this country will always have some kind of complexity. But what matters is right at the front that you have a conversation with your partner about where you come from, what you treasure and celebrate as a unit or as a family. Give them the opportunity to meet that experience, ask the questions, and you do the same for them. Yeah. I can't sit here and claim that I know everything about, for example, the Afrikaans heritage.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I've had a few relationships with men who are from the Afrikaans aspect,
Mhm.
right? But I've also had relationships with Irish, Colombian. Okay, we're not going to get into too much of my dating history.
International
You
woman
are
of
well traveled. You are a well traveled
I think because I'm choicefully single, and I think I also want to put that forward because people think that serially dating, it means that you are not someone who likes to commit. I went through a chapter in my life where I wanted to explore and understand what kind of partner I would be willing to dance with for the rest of my life. And it made me curious about how men think and how men approach relationships. And so meeting men from different cultures made me curious about how they are raised, for example, to treat a future wife, a future, etc. And I went through an intentional period where I was meeting individuals to kind of understand, well, where's the fit for me?
Yeah.
Right? But I think that it's very difficult for certain women to feel free to explore outside certain constructs. And I do think that in South Africa, it's probably a slow evolution. I see the evolution, by the way. I am seeing more interracial couples out there, comfortably so. But I worry sometimes that we constantly have to make a statement first. Like, oh, before I come out with my white boyfriend, I'm going to like slowly build the story up on social media so that
Wow, people do that.
by the time I do the selfie, then everyone's going to understand that it's not because I don't love black men. It's just because this is where I am.
Yeah.
It's sad for me that we still have to literally work ourselves up to the public declaration.
Right.
To the
right.
public declaration. I think for me, love is a dance between two people first. You have that discussion and you discuss things like, oh, how are you? How do you think your friends are going to feel? How do you think my friends are going to feel?
Yeah.
But you've got to have an end date to those discussions so that the love can grow.
Yeah.
The actual union has a chance to survive.
I have a question, not to pivot the conversation in a completely different direction, but also
Yeah.
based on what you've just said about your exploration
Yeah.
of dating different men from different cultures. Let's not just class it by race.
Sure, sorry,
But
cultures.
yeah,
correct.
cultures, of course.
Yes,
No, I
yes,
think
yes.
you definitely did. I was just justifying it to
Shout
myself
out to all the
in order
cultures.
to build up the question, right? From your perspective
Yeah.
and your experience, is it worthwhile and healthy in terms of taking care of yourself
Mm-hmm.
to date frequently and to make
Ooh,
those
good point.
decisions about the continuation or the exodus from that relationship
Mm.
quickly?
Okay, so
Or is it about exploring, let's say, the friendship element? You'd rather
Good
be
point.
friends with multiple potential partners
see where
Yeah.
it goes.
and then go,
Okay.
okay, well, narrow it down to these and then narrow it down versus
I love
let
that
me date.
question.
And what I mean by that is like formalizing a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
focus
but-
on one person.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? But to go like, I would love to know what it's like to date you. And then you have that discussion up front.
Okay.
And I'm asking this as a broad question to
I
even
hear
everyone
you.
who's
I'm
watching.
hearing you.
Have the conversation. I'm really interested in figuring out whether we could work.
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that we could explore and date? And these are the parameters of what I think dating is. You tell me what your dating is.
Mhm.
And if there's a middle ground, let's try it. Does that exist? Is that, I don't even know right now.
I'm on the team, everything is negotiable. The thing for me that I think is missing in a lot of the initial stages of attraction is I don't think a lot of conversing is happening around the touchy subject like, what are we doing? So I love
The
your question because
intentions
it's
as
the
well of
it's
us
the what
dating.
are we doing?
Yeah.
And by what dates? I think so many different dating coaches come with different formulas. At what date do you start asking where we're going? What are we doing? Are we exclusive? The interesting term of what you were saying, like I want to see if this is going to work. I think what matters for me is when you are at a stage where you want to explore with someone. I think the first thing that would just be my little piece of wellnessology advice. A coffee chat with that person once you've established what your intention is with them. The next brave thing is to invite them for coffee or a chat and have that discussion of, listen, I'm here. Where are you? Because my issue is all of us have different understandings of when we think is the right time to do which step.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the conversation allows you to appreciate where the other person is. Because you have to, at some point, make a decision on how much you want to invest in exploring someone
Yes.
else.
And that's the
And
process of having
and my
that
understanding of your question
conversation.
is at what point do you think that's appropriate? My personal preference, what I found healthier for me, just to put that out there, emotionally healthier for me, is you were talking about establish friendships or connections with people and then have a very firm boundary
Yes.
of what those friendships entail. And when you are establishing a notion or when you start to lean towards someone that you're establishing something deeper for, to then have the discussion of a relationship. I found personally, this is not going to work for everybody. Personally, it is healthier to get to know someone platonically, even if you're crushing hard on them, right? For me, what works is to establish the friendship, right? A couple of months, allow these conversations to continue to happen. And when I'm leaning towards feeling emotionally safe enough to want to explore more, have the conversation and take it there.
Like a
That's me.
big kind of spanner in the cogs. There's but what about the dreaded friendship zone or friend zone, right?
Friend zone.
And that's why I think I'm speaking.
Now you can't escape.
Yeah.
Or people have this fear that I'm going to get to know this person at such a
point.
platonic level, and it's going to be wonderful that person can only see me as a friend. And then our friendship is so wonderful. Why would you want to ruin it by turning it into a relationship? And we could fail. And if we fail, then what happens to our friendship?
And then what happens to the feelings that you have
my word.
throughout the friendship? You keep them in a locker
so I have
and
a
store
very
them aside?
conscious. So I have a very conscious way of letting someone know that I'm interested in them romantically, even when we're in the friendship stage.
How?
Okay, so I tell them that the reason I want to take it slow, right, which is what for me the friendship stage means in the intimacy building, is because I am 100% committed first to figuring out if we are something that I want to invest in. So for me, it's interesting because my category is I'm not friend zoning you if you already know I'm interested in you, but I can understand the perspective from the other side. Like, but so my question would be, is the denial of physical intimacy early on for those couple of months the definition of friend zoning, or is the fact that we're actually taking it slow?
No, I think it's actually got nothing to do with the physical intimacy. It's like, for me, the intention.
Yeah.
And that's why the conversation is so important.
Yeah.
That, and I speak only from personal experience where I am right now. I would rather go into, let's say, a relationship or a friendship with somebody whom I was interested in.
Romantically.
With them, like, I would want them to know.
I
that,
tell
like,
them.
The reason why, it's not like, oh, I just met you in the street and like it's all cool and like it's great to hang out with you. Like I've got friends, I've got people who are in my circle. It's cool. I am actually interested in you. And then also, I think it avoids that potential, why did you say that to me? Or why did you say it like that? Like, no, but you know that I'm interested. And if you're comfortable and okay with that, green light. If you're not, red light. And then that already,
because it's also about, I feel like there's a bit of accountability that
Absolutely.
it helps with when we establish, and like when you let that person know what your intentions are.
Absolutely.
There's like a bit of accountability in terms of the way they speak to you, the way they address you, the way they treat you as well. Because if I don't tell you that my intentions are for us to have a relationship, you could literally be introducing every boy you're dating to me and asking me advice about a boy you have a crush on. Meanwhile, the entire time I'm like, so I'm sitting in front of you and...
But hang on, brothers, that was the proviso that I put in. I said you intentionally still declare what your feelings are, even if you're in the friendship stage.
I feel like that's a safer way of doing it.
I'm a coffee chat fan for that reason, because I don't think we do enough dry dating. Or sober dating, whatever you want to call it. Right? Did I just say dry? Did I?
No.
Cut that in the final segment.
No, we're definitely not editing that out. Dry dating should be a thing.
Do a bit more sober dating, guys. You'll get to the answers a lot sooner. But it's, for me, you can absolutely work on a friendship while you are romantically interested in someone. And for me, it's actually a necessity, because part of what happens is values, preferences, passions, hobbies. During that stage, it's a lot. Well, I found, let me put it this way, in my dating experience, it comes out a lot quicker when you've got the time.
Yeah.
I think once you've built a physical bond with someone before you've discovered who they are outside of the bedroom, it can get really, really tricky to detach if things aren't aligning.
And I think maybe technically it might also, and I say technically like from the neurological perspective that we discussed, right? Once you have divulged that, hey, I like you, I'm interested, it takes off the pressure of having to put up this front where you're putting on different hats. Like if he or she says something, do I laugh at it like, or is it like a, who are you trying to be? At least now you know what my intentions are, so I can laugh at it in the way that I wanted to, because you know where I'm at.
I definitely
it diffuses a lot of tension.
I definitely I felt, and that's one of the reasons I was happy to share it, is I felt that it does unmask people really quickly. when you give them the permission to kind of get to know you as well as you getting to know them and get to this place. I've probably enjoyed some of the most fruitful and valuable partnerships from that model. And the only reason, just so that that's clear, Tsidi's not hitched yet, isn't because she hasn't had proposals. But it's also important when you're not at a stage where you can get, and that's why I talked about building a life with yourself so that you know what you can offer someone. The only time and the reason I've turned down some of those big major gestures of amazing commitment is because I recognize that I wasn't at a stage where I could offer certain parts of myself fully to that person.
Right.
But it matters to have an open flow of honest communication. I cannot say this enough. It's probably the most important ingredient of having a healthy relationship. The problem is I don't think a lot of us are being honest up front. We're honest after the fact.
So like
We're honest after the fact.
Yeah, so like you encourage people like dating even without the intention of like, you know, getting married as well. Because like I
what
feel
do you
like
mean by that? That's an interesting question.
in terms of like dating to maybe discover yourself, learn more about that person, rather than saying, I'm getting into a relationship with you right now because I possibly want to spend the rest of my life with you. So you saying that you had to decline certain ones because you couldn't offer yourself. So is it something that you still encourage umuntu angene into the dating field and even still not knowing, not even not knowing, but without the intention of getting married? Because you'll find a lot of girls will be like, he was wasting my time the entire time, you know, when it was maybe just a relationship and you guys were really...
I have a question with that. Because
this is getting so juicy.
No, but this is Are we using the term dating and being in a relationship interchangeably? Because I think maybe from what we were discussing, there is a difference.
Yeah,
being in a relationship with somebody, whereas dating is like, let's go on a coffee date.
Conversation.
And, I really like this. So can we do it 2 more times? Do you want to maybe do it more regularly? We've just gone on a date. Like we are choosingly being in one another's company. We're not saying we're in a relationship, but I like your company, you like mine. So let's do it intentionally.
Yeah.
Now, you know that the reason why we are in this space is because I'm interested. I would like to see where it goes. So let's do that. And then at some point we make the decision, this should be like a relationship because I really like this long term.
And from the relationship aspect, has anyone ever offered more of that and from you? And is it okay to also decline that when you know that maybe you're not
offer more
like
moving in and ukshada. You mean that?
Yeah, that's what I'm
so
saying.
when I was talking about the proposal aspect, it's that. It's the next stage of relationshiping.
Yes.
So I see relationships as a roadmap of exploring, which is what I call dating, where you are having conversations with the intention of choosing a partner to start the dance with.
Yes.
Then there's the early stage relationship, which is the getting to know each other, but you have chosen. And for me, the early stage is defined by you choosing to be exclusive with one another.
Okay, cool.
Right? But whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years before you take it to level of proposals and living together, and that for me is the interesting stage of an early stage relationship. Then for me, there's a second stage relationship, which is what I call the full commitment, which is there is an intentional declaration of I want to build a future with you. Let's start building the future. And the future then is defined by whatever you've articulated. Do you want to be in a long-term partnership without a marriage certificate? Do you want to live together? Do you want to get married? So for me, there's 3 stages. So based on your question of is it okay for someone to stay in the dating phase forever? Well, if your intention is to have a lifelong partner to make babies with and build a family, then no, you shouldn't be staying eternally in dating phases beyond a certain time period. What is that time period? I would love the dating coaches to come and check us out on the next episode because that's where the debate is. But in early stage relationshiping, I do think my personal opinion, not just as a medical doctor, but just as a human being who's seen sometimes what happens when you've got what I call fractured attention, is that it's not always ideal when you're when you've said, I like you, I want to see if we're going to work. For me, it doesn't make sense to have 2 or 3 other people that you're saying that same thing too.
Yes.
So in the dating phase, that's when you are making the decision. In the early stage, you have chosen someone you want
and you're
to.
exclusive to that person. Yeah.
And then you decide if you want to go to the second stage.
It's
What an interesting topic.
I just realized I think I've just identified one of my attachment styles, right?
Okay.
Like I feel like I'd be comfortable in a place where it almost feels like me and the person are holding hands and we're like, let's take the steps together, right? Like I want to make sure that you're comfortable
Yeah.
with what I'm thinking and I'm comfortable with what you're thinking. So
Yep.
we're good? We're good? Okay,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, step.
Oh, so well said.
Whoa.
So well said.
Okay. That was hectic. Are you okay?
Mhm.
You good? All right. Then we settle, you know? And that's where I guess the open conversation that we were talking about comes into play, which is where I tend to agree with the let's go on a coffee date and let's
Yeah.
chat. Because you
Yeah.
know that I'm interested. I have no idea who you are in a relationship sense. You don't know who I am in a relationship sense. All I know is that I like how you think.
Yep.
I like the things we talk about. I like the things we do together. Even if it's in the company of other people,
Yeah.
I like that. Is it possible to explore something more?
Yeah.
And I think that's
Or
one of
even
the-
saying that just gave me like sweaty palms.
and that's why I think and that's the wellness part of it. So I really would love to hear from pluggers if they've ever thought of a relationship in those stages, you know, dating, early stage, second stage, and maybe you are starting to reflect on where you've probably sometimes tried to skip those stages, and perhaps some of the reasons this last segment is going to catch you in a better place of healing is because maybe part of the reason the breakup happened was because you were rushing in
Skipping past it.
skipping parts.
Definitely.
So,
Is that the self-inflicted?
well, we're
harm
gonna
that
go
we were
into
referring
this
to earlier?
interesting and end this segment of Umjolo on a note of caution, but in Dr. G's wellness style, which is there are certain things that are really important for you if you want to preserve your mental and emotional well-being. Because Umjolo, hey, it's hectic. Siyamporoma kwamjolo. And if you're not looking after yourself, these are things that are going to catch up to you. Couple of things that we've already spoken about in the early stages is to watch your behavior in terms of obsession. Be careful of obsession. You want to date healthily. First thing you need to be very mindful of is, am I displaying obsessive behavior? You need to rein that in real quick because that it immediately escalates. And a lot of it stems from a place of wanting assurance and wanting to know that your partner is equally into you as much as you're into
To
them.
them. Yes.
The second thing that we tend to do is, I call it intentional hiding. So we have an interest in someone. And that's one of the reasons I think early on when you was talking about how long do you investigate for before you make the leap. There is a comfort zone in what social media unfortunately has created. And social media stalking is a real thing. And a lot of us are so good at excusing it. Oh no, I'm just like on his gram, just kind of following him for 6 months. And I'm like, no, you're hiding. Anytime you want to get to know someone, understand that there is a risk of you needing to put yourself out there to approach the person, ask the questions, and get the yay or nay.
Yeah.
Stalking them for 6 months isn't going to delay the answer. Right? But what it might do is start to create stories in your head. The risk with stalking someone is that based on the pictures and the video. That is Singabiza Uringo. Right? So I'm here. You know, Dr. G always brings it right at the end. Right? That's the
I
risk.
still got a sip.
Be careful of hiding for too long. You have to show up, be brave, and have the conversation with the person. You want to get to know them, sit with them.
So you're saying if you're in the crush phase of your mind,
yes.
1
month tops.
Wow.
What are you still doing there on their stories? What are you doing on their stories? What are you doing?
Sending hearts and then love emojis.
No, wait. Why is this getting so personal right now? I'm just saying.
Because maybe I'm sending a message to some people.
So you're saying after like that month,
Ask
by
yourself.
then, make a move or not?
Yeah.
Darn.
Save yourself the time of continuing to create stories in your head. You don't know this person in real life. Remind yourself when you're on their social media, you don't know this person in real life. So until you have the guts to talk to them in real life, all you're doing is creating stories.
Creating stories. And you really create like a... Because, I mean, social media is all about, you know, the highlights. And we've spoken about this in our
That's
previous
it.
episodes.
That's
so
it.
then you look at this person from a godly and untouchable
Right?
image, and you're thinking to them,
Makes
you've
me want to eat a
dehumanized
fruit.
them,
It's
you
so
know?
deep.
Yeah, so I understand. I definitely understand.
Right. Another wellness note that Dr. G wants to leave with you, wonderful daters. Don't be afraid of online dating. And I say this boldly because you guys kind of touched on it, but I think here's what's interesting about having the opportunity to talk to someone virtually. You are in the comfort of your own space, exploring a conversation with someone on the other side. Are they scammers? Absolutely. Scammers are in real life as much as they are virtually. Is it a space that people like to judge? Oh, this is where you go to die. No.
You know,
Can I have a moment? No. All right. So as we wrap up Wellnessology, you know, I want to continue on this. What are healthy habits to engage in when you date? See relationships as an extension of your life, not the make or break of your entire life.
Okay.
Yep.
I think something that is very subconscious with most of us is the object of our affection does sometimes end up becoming our whole life in such a fast way. And this conversation of you get lost in the middle of that. It tends to happen in that falling in love rush stage.
Yeah.
So be mindful of still having your identity. Lots of
So it's not to
articles
say
about it. It's not to
don't
say
be
don't
in
enjoy
love,
spending
don't
time
have
with
that
it.
intense-
If you are that couple, go for it. But be mindful of what your passion is. Be mindful of keeping your current relationship still nurtured. So your friendships, your relationships, family, don't get too consumed by only spending time with one human being at the cost of still appreciating the things that have fed you prior to their arrival. That's it.
Yeah.
So if they add to the nurturing, go for it. Enjoy their nurturing, but still maintain all these other bonds.
And I think
Landing?
Yeah, and I think internally you do know when that boundary has been.
I think you do, but we don't always act on it.
If you're being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last but not least, build a routine. Build a routine when you get into a stage of when you start dating. Build a routine with yourself after a date. Don't be afraid to reflect. Sounds like a bit dorky coming back and going, how was that? I've found that my how is that has allowed me to make very conscious and honest decisions and not waste people's time. If by the third date or experience, there's certain things that haven't shifted. So I'll give an example. One of my big hard deal breakers is, do I feel emotionally safe? Because I can have fun with a lot of people that I meet.
Yeah.
But the fun doesn't necessarily translate to, do I feel emotionally safe?
Okay.
So if, let's say in the second or third conversation, I'm still not feeling emotionally safe, for me, it makes perfect sense to say, listen, I've had a really great time, but it's probably not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Do I feel emotionally safe?
Woo! So the dating mirror exercise, you come back from an experience with someone, let's not call it a date, an experience with someone could be a conversation, a lengthy conversation since we're on social media all the time.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, how was that?
Yeah. But don't you think the emotionally safe question is also sometimes hindered by the things that we've experienced before?
The trauma, yes.
The trauma that we've experienced
before. But that's
before.
part of the reason why I talk about having conversations with yourself.
yeah.
Because you could actually say, okay, I just went on a text rant with them. Why? We're not pausing enough. I feel sometimes the injustice we do to our prospective partners, we're not pausing enough to also evaluate and hold ourselves accountable to our own behavior in the context of the partnership, so that we can separate, okay, this is something that's got to do with me not getting something in the partnership, or this has got to do with something with the wound that I'm trying to face. So reflect often in the early stages. It's good for you. On that note, I think we have open Pandora's box.
Are we going to go?
With Umjolo, and it's only right that the voice that was there in the beginning is the voice that closes off. So I'm going to invite the voice from within to let us see how far this conversation has taken us by asking us the final questions. Okay. I'm still feeling as brave.
Go ahead.
So to the voice, I want to choose number 1.
What are you not willing to change for a relationship?
Wow, that's a tricky one.
T for 10.
Yo, good
What are you not willing to change
for
a relationship?
It's interestingly enough, but at my age, I've had to really answer that because of the serious relationships I've been in. The one thing I've recognized that I'm not willing to change is definitely without a doubt, the number I believe I can contribute biologically to children. It's a definitive number. And I don't think whoever the partner is, God bless you. That is one thing that's not going to change. If you want to know what the number is, drop me a comment on the YouTube channel and I'll answer.
Love that. Let's get that engagement out. Okay. For me, it's.
You're answering that too. Go ahead, chat.
No, I'm not. I was picking the number. I don't know. Should
No,
you
you pick your number.
should I also answer that?
No.
I thought you were about to.
No, I'm picking a number. Definitely number 13.
Ooh,
let's hope it's lucky.
Racy.
The voice is looking very happy with that choice.
Do you think you need to make any personal improvements in how you approach relationships?
Definitely. There's a lot of personal improvements that I need to make. A lot of healing that I need to, go through in order to meet a person and sincerely and genuinely, enjoy the moment and be in it fully.
Do you think this conversation took you a few steps forward with that?
It did. Like also with the steps that you were mentioning, like I was like, actually, there's quite a bit of things that I've never followed, and maybe that's why I've been, going around in circles, and also just, dealing with my own personal, flaws and self-esteem issues. Maybe when getting into a relationship, always wanting to be. The best version of yourself that you're presenting to a person. And sometimes it's not really necessary for you to, be the best or, be perceived as the best version of yourself. Sometimes lo muntu ufuna ukukmeeta where you are at that time. You guys can, and also I love the point that you raised in terms of making the person an extension
of your life.
And for me, I think I also struggle with that because I'll be like, I know, also figure ungenze happy. The discussion that we had earlier on was figure and you need to make me happy or
or get out.
Yeah, or get out, or you need to be able to do this. And sometimes you need to be already in a state of joy, of love, of peace. And that person just needs to maybe be an extension. So those are one of the things that I think I would change in terms of the expectations that I have for umuntu. Sometimes they might be a bit unreasonable.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I definitely change that.
I love our voice from within. She goes to the heart of the matter. I can't wait to hear what your concluding question is.
The number.
Anxiety. So I went for the double digits number early on. I'm going to go for single digits and the number that represents infinity, 8.
Oh.
Since we were talking about Umjolo and love and whatever, let's hope this sends the vibes for everyone to find infinite love.
A voice from within. Serve us.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Can you overlook anything from your partner's past?
She just brought back Umjolo again.
Wow.
Close us off, Kat.
Just an outward expression. I think, yes, I have to because I know my own past and I know how fraught that past is with mistakes. And so for me at any level, at any time to look upon someone's past and to use that as a rubber stamp to certify their eternal documentation in relationship makes no sense. Grace, forgiveness, understanding is an absolute necessity. So yes, I can. And I will. And I most certainly will have to. Because everybody comes with not baggage,
a story. And on that beautiful note, guys, we have done our first YouTube episode.
Subscribe.
Do not forget to like and subscribe our channel. And we will be back with another high quality episode. Engage us on Instagram, engage us on social media, all platforms. I really love this one.
Yeah, I also love it. And I mean, the conversation just doesn't end here with us, you know? People can still comment. They can be the chosen, what? The chosen one or the inside one? What is
The voice within.
You can be the voice within and drop a comment and ask the questions. And,
We'll definitely continue the conversation on the comment section. So
Yeah.
don't you worry. You will be seeing our sexy, gorgeous selves.
Yeah. And of course, while you're at it, also check us out on Instagram. We're on Twitter as well. All of our social media handles, we'll put those in the description below, as they say.
100%. But
in the
this
description
is
below.
us signing out of Umjolo, the Wellness Edition.
Oh, we survived it.
Be great. Be clear about what you need and
Yes.
want. And most importantly, don't forget to look after yourself through all the stages because there is only one you. Until then, we'll see you next time on the Wellness Plug podcast, inspiring healthy conversations. Thank you, team.
Cheers.
That's all.
Because you asked for it and we answered. We are now on YouTube, so please subscribe to our channel and of course feed through all of your comments and questions that you might have. That's how we keep this conversation going within our community. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Subscribe.